Oh, hello. I'm
Oh,
Shannon.
what's up?
This is my junior son Isaac. It's Train of Thought Science. Um, the subject that we'll be hitting on tonight is aging. Isaac is going to be speaking on
How aging actually transpires in the process.
and what it is. Second of all, we'll be talking about animals that science is doing research with to extend their lifespans, and hopefully the research can lead to human,
Longer human lives.
longer human lifespans. Third of all, Isaac's going to be talking about a very interesting animal in the ocean.
Ceratopsis dory. Which,
Right.
if you have automated captions, I don't know how it corrected that, but it's probably way off.
Isaac, tell us about aging.
So, you have chromosomes, which a chromosome is a pattern of strands of DNA inside of your cells that instructs your cell what to do and how to do it and how to reproduce. And the end of the chromosomes, there's either an X chromosome, which is one here. On the ends of it, there are telomeres, which protect the end of the DNA from becoming frayed. And the telomeres are worn down over time by radiation, oxidization. That's why antioxidants and things such as blueberries help you live longer. But once the telomeres are worn down, they stop doing their job, and your strands of DNA become frayed. Like when the plastic on the end of your shoelace starts to wear out, your shoelace becomes frayed.
That's essentially what the telomere is. It's a cap to hold together the ends of the strands of DNA, just like your shoelaces.
Yeah. Shall I say why it's lost with the ribosomes and stuff?
I don't think you need to go into that, but once once the telomere is gone, there's nothing to protect the ends of your DNA from losing the information, and your strand of DNA gets a little bit shorter every single time that it reproduces and gets copied. You lose information.
Your cell can either reproduce in mitosis or meiosis. Mitosis is when it produces two daughter cells. That's what you call it when a cell produces other cells, daughter cells. And meiosis is when it produces four cells. Just two of them.
So are they sun cells? Meiosis.
I don't think they're sun cells. There might be.
Then it would be son of a daughter. Anyway, and that is essentially what aging is. It's when strands of DNA get destroyed, or not destroyed, but they just wear down. That's when you start getting gray hairs, wrinkles. It's just you don't have the same elasticity. Your DNA isn't able to reproduce as well. Second of all, we're going to be hitting on C. elegans. That is a type of worm that researchers are using, trying to extend lifespan.
Oh. And when he says C. elegans, it doesn't mean C as in the ocean. He means C as an abbreviation, and then elegans because that's the scientific name of the nematode worm.
Anyway, the worm normally in nature has a 2 to 3 week lifespan. When researchers they change different factors in their environment, and
When they remove the nutrients.
when they let the worm get near the end of its larval stage, and when it gets near the end of its larval stage, they remove nutrients from its environment, and the worm's organs and cells go into a state of arrested development. Essentially, they stop aging, and they do this for 2 to 3 weeks, which is already the length of their lifespan. But they go into arrested development, aging stops, and then when they're able to put the nutrients back in their environment, they just continue and start feeding just like they had before. By the way, while they're in the state of arrested development, it's not like hibernation. They're able to keep foraging for food. They do not shut down.
But they also don't age.
They also don't age. But once nutrients are restored to their environment, they're able to continue aging and maturing and going on with their lifespan. But through this process, their researchers are able to extend their lifespan by 30 to 200%. And if this research can get laid over to human uses, well, it's pretty simple to understand. If we could do this with humans, we can extend their lifespans. It wouldn't be hard to see a person living 200 years.
But you would also have to alter the genome that allows them to shut down to not only do it when they're severely starved, which is possible using genetic modifications.
Yeah, and drugs. And drugs. And third of all, we're going to be talking about
The Turritopsis.
Turritopsis dohrnii, a very interesting jellyfish, right?
Yes, it's a jellyfish that lives in the ocean. Turritopsis dohrnii is a scientific name. It's also called the immortal jellyfish commonly. That ice cream made me really shaky. I shouldn't have said that stuff. Because you're going to start acting a little bit. Okay, so it does age, but once it gets to the end of its lifetime, assuming it hasn't been eaten by a shark or something, it simply reverts back to its polyp stage and goes back through the cycle of its lifetime. There are three
It's
species.
larval stage, right?
Yes. There are three species in the genus of Turritopsis. There's Dohrnii, Narticulus, and Rubra. Narticulus is commonly the one that's called immortal because it's much more common, but it isn't. Not to say that it isn't immortal, it's just that the cycle has never been observed in the laboratory. And Rubra is very aesthetically similar to the Dohrnii, so when captured, that's often mistaken for it.
So, essentially, if the animal isn't preyed upon or eaten, hypothetically, it can live forever,
Yes.
which is pretty awesome.
And again, they could modify the genes to put in us, just like they modified the genes of glowing jellyfish to make glowing ice cream. But it's $235 a scoop.
Interesting little tidbit. Back to the thing about the nematode worms. It's not just nematode worms that researchers have been working with. They've been working with rats, spiders, and other mammals. And they can extend their lifespans in the same way. They can easily, even rats, they can double their lifespan just by, pretty much starving them. What researchers need to do is be able to do the same thing with humans without the discomfort of, oh my God, I think I'm going to die from starvation. I'm sure it can be done with enough research.
Yeah. And speaking of extending lifetime, should we go into cryogenic stasis and the problems?
Am I going to go in? What?
Should we? So do you want to talk about cryogenic stasis and the problems?
Yeah, it's on the same subject, so sounds
Okay.
good.
So cryogenic stasis is used in a lot of sci-fi to, if you're on a very long spaceship trip, 70 years, then you go into cryogenic stasis. Stasis is pretty much a state of homeostasis, and cryogenic is freezing. So they freeze your body to make it last longer, but there are problems with that. The cold can crystallize in your cells and damage nerve cells, and you have to regenerate that.
It damages all cells. When the H2O within the cell freezes, it expands, and essentially it can break apart DNA. It's not a good thing, and really not a good thing. And I don't know. My thoughts on cryogenic stasis. That's way in the future if we could do that. I could see us lowering body temperature and going into a induced coma, with going taking her body temperature down to 75 degrees and possibly extending her lifespan like that.
Yeah.
But that's big technology.
Like in that movie Gravity, you remember that movie? If any of you have ever seen it, the main character's daughter sleeps for most of her life waiting for his return to increase her lifespan. She increases by 20 years. I would guess.
I'd rather live to 20 years than sleep to 20 years.
Sleep to 70 years.
70 years, yeah. So she slept 70 years only to extend her life by 20 years?
I would guess 70 years, but she just wanted to see her father because he left for the space mission when she was a child. Because gravity affects time. If you're on a planet with very high gravity or in a vacuum like space, then time relativity is much different. If you go into the effects of the form.
No, I think that's totally going off subject a little bit. And it's
Exactly.
very theoretical and doesn't have much to do with, yes, aging, but it's pretty off subject. Well, it's a short video tonight, but anything else? Good night.